Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the By My Hand Show with Carol
and Jules.
We're so excited that you came and joined us again today. This is a pre-recorded show, so you can't call in.
Again, we have the incomparable, most amazing life coach in the world, Joseph Spencer. Woo!
Hello, everyone. Good to be back.
Absolutely learned so much from him on last week, so we're going to hope to do a repeat today.
Yes, we're going to repeat that awesome show that we did last week with all that knowledge he dropped on us. It was absolutely bananas. We really enjoyed it. I learned some things, and it was really good. I love the thing you said about the parent. You don't expect nothing from your son except for him to be greater than you are, but what he sees. I thought that was really awesome. So we're excited about what he's going to share with us today and the knowledge that he's going to impart on us today. Can you tell us a little bit more about Spencer, what he's meant to your life personally?
Well, he personally has a lot to do with the reason I'm here. Just sometimes life can beat you down.
Yeah.
And when I came face to face with my own mortality, this man really took me by my hair and pulled me up.
Yeah.
And he said, "You will not die, but you will be the JJ I know." And I was like, "I don't know what that means. I don't." He said, "Don't worry, I'll show you." And he just took care of me. He took me under his wing and really loved on me and just reminded me of the great things that are already in me, the things that he fell in love with, and it just woke me up from a dead place to a place of being risen. And truly, now I'm able to help so many more people just because I plugged back in. But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even. I don't know that I'd be sitting here.
Well, it's funny that you said that because I feel the exact same way. So I remember that one day I met you, and it was in Philadelphia, I believe, at someone else's function. And when I met Jules, like, you know how you can see how the light is real bright?
Yeah.
It was like, that's what I saw. I was like, and I'm very shy. I don't approach people. She knows that.
Okay.
I went up to her. I said, "I need your car."
Oh, wow. I
said, "I need your car. I need to contact you."
Wow.
And I don't do that. But it was something that compelled me and drew me to her.
Wow.
And I was just like, wow, this is something about her. Who is she?
Okay.
And I had to know who it was. So I called her up and I said, "I want to work for you. I want to be a producer." Right? And she said, "You ever done this before?" I said, no. So she invited me out to, the production meeting.
Right.
And we talked after that, and it was clear that I had no idea what I was doing, and that wasn't going to work out. And she was like, "You know what? That's not really going to work out." And then she followed me, and she came and she said, "You know what? Meet our new production manager." And because she said, you need to be in a position where you're managing and directing people, and giving instructions, because that's what you do.
Wow.
And I realized that she has a gift.
Absolutely.
Because she was able to assess me immediately.
Absolutely.
And this is something that obviously I have been doing half my life.
Absolutely.
And I recognized that greatness about her. And I said, wow, no one's ever been able to peg me like that.
Wow.
Because I really didn't want to be a producer.
Right.
I never told her that. I just wanted to be part of this great vision that I saw it. It was kind of like I saw her future when I saw her that day. And I saw her on TV, and I said, I just got to be a part of that. Not on some, I'm going to take advantage of the situation. I said, I want to be part of this. Wow. And I remember Jules saying something to me one day. She don't know. She was yelling at me on the phone. I was sitting in my apartment in New Brunswick, and she said, "No, the world doesn't have time to wait for you to figure it out. You need to be who you already know who you are. The world can't wait for you to figure it out. You need to just go do it and be." See, and it's those words, right, that keep me in her life, right? Because no one ever cared about me in that way. Not family, anyone. I've never had anybody care about me so much where they pierced my soul like that.
Wow.
And I could feel her energy, and I said, "What is this all about?" I'm like, "Who she think she talking to?"
I was yelling.
Because it challenged me to be.
Wow.
instead of going under the radar.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Being
know,
comfortable.
yeah.
As we said
So
last week.
that's what's important. So I'm only giving you what you gave me.
Oh,
You gave me life. You know, and as humans, right? That's what we should do for each other.
Yeah.
God wants us to inspire each other.
Absolutely.
He wants us to live out our purpose. And there's no reason why everybody you run into, everybody you know, should not be given that gift. When God gives you something, it's not yours to hold on to.
Not yours to hold on to.
You have to give it up, or you're going to be challenged. Because what I have is not from me. It's from Him.
Yeah.
And Jules helped me to see that.
And that's what we were talking about. That's what this topic is about today. Don't miss another assignment. So important. Now, what if she did not tell Yusuf what she told him, and in the spirit that she told him, direct and hard and cut, and she didn't sugarcoat it, but she came out raw with it at that time.
And I'm not like that normally. I'm not, because for people to be sharp with me, it
That's
turns me
offensive to her.
the other way.
Yeah.
So for me to be, and I remember I was angry.
Yeah.
But the Bible
But your
does,
spirit was
yeah,
angry.
I could just
righteous
feel it.
indignation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And you know, people talk about, well, God has patience, God has favor, and He has patience with us. Let me tell you something. You can run out of time, honey.
Absolutely.
You can run out of time. I'll never forget, you know, we all know the story of Whitney Houston and how God blessed her with that awesome voice. And she kept waiting to come back, kept waiting to come back, but yet she was still involved with the drugs, on and on and on and on. And I remember I just had this conversation with my daughter, how she did the song with Kelly Price and a couple other girls. And that was her time to change and come back around. Because she still had some voice left, and she still had a chance, but then she went right back. And when she came back this time, it was too late. It was, and it's like you could feel it in your spirit when it's too late for a person. Yeah, you're making your comeback now, but baby, it's still too late. Your days are numbered. Your time is short. It's just over for you. And so, yes, like she said, God don't have to wait for you forever. He will get somebody else to do the job. And so it's important that we move on our assignment when, what did we say last week? When the leaves are tender.
Exactly.
Then you know summer is near, as Jesus said with the fig tree. When the leaves are tender, when you feel that thing in your spirit, stop procrastinating. Stop putting it off. Stop waiting and saying, until next week I'll do it. One thing I love about Yusuf Spencer, he's saying about the blueprint. How we can get our vision started, how we can make it come to pass and come into fruition. I'm going to read something to you real quick, a scripture that really sets format for what we want to talk about today. And it's in Mark 4:26. I'm just kind of like abbreviating here. It says, cast your seed into the ground. It said, cast seed into the ground. And as you cast it into the ground, as days and nights go by and you sleep and you wake up, after a while you start to see a growth. And that's when you know that the seed has taken root. And then you'll see a blade, and then you'll see an ear, and then the full corn in the ear. It says, but when the fruit is brought forth immediately, he put us forth into shackles, because the harvest is come. When you have that desire and you plant it in your spirit, and then you start to do things to make it work and to make it happen, just like that corn, it began to grow, then heave it down and start making it work towards you. Start making it work for you. Start doing things that you need to do to make that thing work. Just like the mustard seed, it's the smallest seed of all seeds, but it has the biggest leaves, so big that people come from miles around, from everywhere, to take shade under those leaves. And so that little mustard seed, I don't care how small your thought is on what you want to do or what you feel like you should be doing. I don't care how small it is. If you would take that little seed, that little thought, that little feeling, and if you would start to marinate that thing, cultivating it, adding water to it, sunlight, and it start to grow, let me tell you something. People will come under you, and you will be given to them. You won't be the borrower. You'll be the lender. And so I love your blueprint, because you tell people steps on how to make that happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I recently had taken some time off of work. As you all know, I took time off of the show as well, because I was going through really torturous time with unfortunate experience I went through last year. Anyway, got back to work, went back to work earlier than I was supposed to. Broke my foot a week and a half after going back to work. And I'm in a cast today. And I barely go out because it's just a lot of effort and work. But I came to this show today because I'm not going to miss another assignment.
Absolutely.
So I know that what's in me is life for somebody else. Somebody else, just like Yusuf was saying. That was so amazing that he remembered that and shared that. Because I remember I was like, I don't want to say this to him, but I had to say it. And I was so like, are you crazy? Because he was so like, I'll just whatever, and I'll just do this. And he was just like linking in with what I had going on. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but what you have is so huge too. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, there's enough room at the top for all of us. Absolutely. So I don't quench anybody's. But I will tell you, moving forward in spite of is a must. One thing I did when I did the talk show, which reached over 4 million people, one thing I did was to start, I would talk about it. I'm a talker. So I talk a whole lot. My mom said, she's like, I don't want to hear another thing about a talk show, nothing. Just do it. And shut the door. Hurt all my feelings, okay? And finally, when it was ready to come out, I was doing the interviews and interviewing my staff. And she was like, okay. And then now she was talking to me about it. I still want to talk to her about it. She said, you can talk to me about it now because it's happening. Absolutely. But sometimes you just have to do it. But I didn't know how to start because it's such a huge thing in my head. How do I do a TV talk show? One thing I did, I went to school, and then I was like, I can do this. And I got with the 8 greatest people in the class. So the greatest lighting person, the greatest sound person, the greatest writer, the greatest. So I picked all the greatest. And then I asked them to come to a luncheon. And of those 8, 6 of them started working with me. And we started a TV show. Wow. And from there, it just grew and grew. But how I started was I created a triangle. And then I flipped it upside down. So at the bottom was the peak, which was the first day the show aired. So I had to start from the top. How do I get here? And so literally it was make a list of what I need to do. Then start making phone calls. Then do the interview status, like step by step. But the end result was the first day that the show airs. And right before that was, do the final makeup check. And do the final sound check was before that, and it went that way. You do need to be organized, and I love the way the blueprint sounds. So I think we need to do a conference. Absolutely. And get some people together and really help some lives come together with purpose and on purpose. It's not an accidental thing, and most times that people find themselves financially successful, emotionally and spiritually sound. It's because you work towards it. You had a goal and you set it and you achieved it.
Absolutely.
It's important because a lot of people don't know that when you're writing down what you want, right? You have to start ahead. We think that we need to start where we at in the moment. No, that's not how you program your mind. Because the timeline that's built inside your mind is really complex and it's sophisticated enough to retain it, right? So, like Joe said, you have to start, like the blueprint, as I said, it's a 10-year plan. So you go 10 years ahead. You say 10 years from now, you put in those areas what you want. Then you go down from 10 years, you go down to maybe 7 years. Just in 7 years, I want this, right? 5 years, I want this. 3 years. Then you get all the way down to 1 month. You break it down. Go to 1 year, 6 months, to 30 days, and then all the way up until now. So that 30 day will bring you back to your present moment. And a lot of people don't understand that's how you program your mind. Because once you do that and you write it, it's in there. Mm-hmm. See, whatever your mind takes in is always there. Whether you recall it or not. Right? But certain things will trigger certain experiences. Just like, somebody's been in a fight. Mm-hmm. And you might see somebody fighting and it'll trigger what you went through. Right? So that's what happens. It'll pull it up. You'll recall it. Right? So it takes certain circumstances. So that's why when you write out the blueprint, it's important that you look at it every day. You read it in the morning. You read it at night before you go to bed. Because while you're asleep, right? They always say make your to-do list the last thing you do before you go to bed. Why? Because that's the last thing your mind is going to recall, and while you sleep, it's actually processing it while you're asleep.
Wow.
So when you wake up in the morning, like most successful people, they don't use alarm clocks because their mind is already programmed, and they automatically get up at certain times because they say, "Oh, I want to get up at 5 o'clock. I'm gonna do this at 5:15. I'm gonna do this at 5:45. I'm gonna do this at 6 o'clock." So that once your mind gets programmed and it's set, your body responds to whatever's in your mind, good or bad. And that's
Steve Harvey does that. I think he said and we know he's definitely one of the hardest men in show business, working men in show business. But he says that he itemizes his day in minutes.
Yeah.
Minute by
You have to break it down.
Yeah.
Because it's simple that way. And you focus on that one thing. When you're done with that, you get rid of it and you move on to the next. It's that simple. And but the most important thing that happens from it, you feel successful. You feel like you've accomplished something, which is the most important thing, is to experience that little success because it leads up to bigger.
I know when I went to visit my aunt in New York, Long Island, and they are so awesome. My Aunt Mary and my cousin Glenda and
cousin
Shay, and we had a weekend with them, and she told me, she said, "Why haven't you finished your book?" I'm like, "Well, because of this, because of that." And she said, "Set a goal within the next 3 months that book will be finished. And then after you set that goal, then set a goal that it'll be to the publisher in the next 3 months after that." And I mean, she had me lay out a plan and set the goal, and I literally did it. And I actually had it to the publisher. I had problems with the publisher, but I still went with the format.
Absolutely.
And it really worked.
Yes.
And it's so important that, like you said, we set up a goal, we write it down. This is your instructions. We write it down. We set a goal. You had a 10-year goal. You can even break it down to smaller if your goal is something that you need to do sooner.
Yeah.
You can break it down to 3 years or 1 year.
Absolutely.
And then put the steps in process. And like I said last week, start at one thing. Start at where you can begin. And then go to the next thing that you can go. For me, it was the talk show, the radio show. I knew I had to do it.
Yeah.
I prayed about it, and like the show topic today, don't miss another assignment. I knew that this was the assignment that God had called us to do. We went to we didn't even know we were going to a prophetic conference. We thought we were going to a concert, hear somebody sing.
The one who does our theme song,
our intro.
Stephanie.
Yes, we thought we were going to hear her in concert, and the guy gets up and says, "Oh, you're at a prophetic conference." I was like, "Oh, what?" And I'm like, "Okay, we're at a prophetic conference." And the man got up and preached, and I mean, that man preached the word. And he didn't minister. And he said, "I said I wasn't going to minister. I was just going to give this word, and this word was going to be enough." He said, "But those two women back there reported to me and my daughter." And he said, "God said, go do the thing that he has assigned to your hand." We already know what the talk show.
Yeah.
Right?
Without a doubt.
He said, "Go do the thing finish the thing you've already begun," which was the show.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing it because mentally blown away and dealing with things and just frustrated with something. So we stopped doing it. And I knew then that this woman be praying, okay?
And it's funny that you mentioned that because on the back end of the Blueprint for Success, once you write down your 10-year plan, right, there's other parts of the Blueprint seminar, right, that we address those areas. And there's different groups. And one of them is things started but not finished. And you make a list. Things you're working on. So you itemize all that. The Blueprint for Success is very detailed because it's designed to help people become whole and complete. Which is what people need.
Yes.
And it's sustainable, it's real because it's yours. And once you have it, it's in your hands, you have it. No one can take it from you. So you give yourself no other opportunity but to live it out.
Awesome.
I'm the master of procrastination. I'm the master of starting projects. I have 2 other books that I have not finished. And I know exactly what you're talking about stuff that's on the back burner. And living in purpose and pushing those things forward and really, really setting goals to complete
Absolutely.
them. You know, it's such a struggle. And I think because of life, life happens and and you don't have the peace you have in your space and different things like that. It hinders you, but you have to work past all of that. I think that's a struggle.
Well, you know what the biggest part is? Is what you believe and the words that you use, right? Like they always say, don't say can't. Don't use the word try. One of the things I don't do is tell myself things that are self-defeating, right? Like, you may procrastinate, but you'll never hear me say I'm a procrastinator, right? And I may do that, but I won't tell myself that, because whatever you tell yourself, you're going to believe, right? So the first thing is changing your vocabulary, right? Into using words that are saying something that's hard. Say it's a challenge, right? Yeah. It changes how you look at it, right? So if something's a challenge, it doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means it's a challenge. But if you say it's hard, we've bought into that. Once we say something's hard, we can't do it.
Wow.
So I don't use that word. So always say challenge, So it's very important that we learn to use words, right? That's going to give us life and give us the things that we need and program our minds. Because you're programming yourself every time you talk.
So take that lesson, people. Watch your words, guard your words, change your wording. I have a question for you real quick before we go off. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Was it hard? Did you have like gang violence or things like that going on in your neighborhood?
Well, there were gangs in our neighborhoods and in our city, but I managed to stay away from them. There were gang members in my neighborhood who actually wouldn't allow me to engage in gangs. And they would say to me, "This not for you. Wow. Little man, get out of here. This ain't nothing to do with you. You got a life." And I was like maybe 10, 11, 12 years old trying to watch them fight. And I remember the one guy's name was JB. He was always in and out of jail. But he said, "This is what I do. This ain't for you."
Were you always smart?
I guess. I don't know.
In school?
I was an ABC student, I wouldn't say smart. I was just average student, but I learned a lot. I always hung around older people. I spent a lot of time when I was around my grandmother, spent a lot of time with her, and even playing ball as a youth, I hung around older people. So I just never really clicked with people my age. Always wanted something from people.
Well, thank you so much, Juicer Spencer, for being with us. We are so excited for you just to be a part of our show and share your wisdom.
Make sure you guys look for him, Joseph Spencer. Make sure you guys look for him on YouTube
and Facebook. Yes, and thank you for being a part of our show. We love you guys. And we will see you next week on the By My Hand show with Carol
and Jules. Thank you.
All right. Okay. I have to get room tone at the end because with the session.